Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a closer look at a case that's truly mystifying, even after all this time. The disappearance of Sherrill Levitt, Suzanne Streeter, and Stacy McCall in Springfield, Missouri, back in June '92.
It really is. Three women just vanished from a house. No witnesses, no ransom, almost no physical evidence left behind. It's the kind of case that sticks with you.
Absolutely, and it's generated so much discussion over the years. So our goal here is to help you, our listener, get a solid grasp of what happened, the key questions, without getting totally swamped by, 30 years of information.
Right. We pulled together quite a range of material Reddit forums like Unresolved Mysteries and True Crime Discussion, detailed threads on web sleuths, articles from people in local news like KY3 and the News Leader.
Also, the official police release, Wikipedia, YouTube interviews, Bart Streeter's perspective, Crime Weekly looking at suspects, plus blogs and sites dedicated to the case. It's a lot.
It is. And our mission is to sort of weave these threads together, pull out the really significant bits, the things that make this case so perplexing. We want to give you a clear picture of the knowns, the unknowns, and why it's still unsolved.
But we should stress, right, there are no definitive answers here. We're exploring the mystery.
Exactly. It's about understanding the questions as much as searching for answers.
Okay, let's set the scene. The night before they vanished, June 6th, 1992, big night for Suzanne and Stacy.
Yeah. High school graduation. Kickapoo High. They were celebrating, hit up a couple of parties.
Standard graduation stuff. And their original plan wasn't even to go back to Suzanne's house, was it?
No, initially they were going to stay at their friend Janelle Kirby's place.
Yeah.
But then, pretty late, around 2 a.m., they decided last minute to head back to Suzanne's house on East Delmar Street.
And that change of plans, that's important.
It really is. Because Suzanne's mom, Sherrill, was already home. She'd been there earlier in the evening, talked to a friend on the phone around 9:45 p.m.
Reports say she was working on some furniture, maybe refinishing something, and possibly dealing with that porch light.
Right, just a normal evening at home for her. But crucially, Suzanne apparently didn't call to let her know they were coming over, instead of staying at Janelle's.
So Cheryl likely went to bed not expecting them.
That seems to be the case. It adds this layer of, well, who knew they were actually there at that specific time?
Okay, fast forward to the next morning, June 7th. Their friend Janelle Kirby tries to get in touch.
Yeah, they had plans to go to a water park. Whitewater, I think.
Hmm.
Janelle calls, no answer. Tries again, still nothing.
So she gets worried.
Understandably. Around 12:30 p.m., she and her boyfriend Mike decide to just drive over to the house.
And what they find is just off.
Very off. The front
Okay.
door is unlocked. They go in, call out nothing. No sign of Sherrill, Suzanne, or Stacy.
Just the dog.
Just Cheryl's little dog,
Yeah.
Cinnamon, a Yorkshire Terrier. And Janelle said the dog seemed really agitated, barking, running around.
Which isn't typical for Cinnamon, apparently.
No, described as usually quite docile. And then there's the porch light.
Ah, yes, the infamous porch light. What do they see?
The glass globe, the shade that covers the bulb, was broken, smashed, with pieces of glass on the porch steps. But the bulb itself, totally fine, intact.
Weird. And Janelle's boyfriend, he swept it up.
He did. Try to be helpful, clean up the mess. But, of course, looking back.
Yeah, potential evidence.
Yeah,
Gone. That's tough.
it is. And while they were there, inside the house, the phone rang. Janelle answered it.
Ah.
It was this really disturbing call. A male voice making 6 sexual innuendos, is how it was described.
Yeah.
She hung up immediately, shaken.
Wow. Okay, so
Yeah.
that adds another really creepy layer right at the start.
Definitely. And then later that day, things escalate further.
This is when Stacy's mom, Janice McCall, gets involved.
Yes. Janice hadn't been able to reach Stacy all day either. She was getting increasingly worried. Around 7 p.m., she goes over to the house herself.
And she finds more unsettling things inside.
She does. She notices the women's purses. All 3 of them, Cheryl's, Suzanne's, and Stacy's, lined up neatly on the floor in Suzanne's bedroom.
All together.
All together. Keys inside, cigarettes. Sherrill was a heavy smoker, apparently. Would she leave her cigarettes and keys behind if she just popped out?
Probably not. It suggests they didn't plan to leave, or at least not like that. Having them all in one room feels staged, almost.
It's one of the most debated details. Why
But-
there? Did they put them there? Did someone else? It implies they were all together in that room near the time they vanished.
And then Giannis finds the answering machine.
Ugh, yes. The answering machine. She sees the light blinking, indicating a message. She plays it back. Here's what she later described only as a strange message.
But she accidentally deleted it.
In her distress, trying to figure out the machine or maybe replay it, she hit the wrong button and poof, Gone forever.
Oh, that's just heartbreaking.
Okay.
Imagine wondering what was on that tape for 30 years.
Exactly. Could it have been the same guy who called Janelle? A clue? A wrong number? We'll simply never know.
And otherwise, the house itself didn't show obvious signs of violence.
No, that's another major puzzle piece. No forced entry. Nothing seemed overturned or ransacked. The beds looked like they'd been slept in, which fits with Suzanne and Stacy arriving late.
Suzanne's graduation cake was still there too, right?
Yeah, Bart Streeter, Sherrill's son, found it in the fridge later. And Stacy's migraine medication, something she really needed, was left behind.
So everything points to them being settled in for the night, and then something interrupted that suddenly.
Precisely. It doesn't look like they packed up and left willingly.
Okay, let's really dig into some of these strange pieces. The porch light again, broken glass on the steps not directly underneath. What are the theories there?
Well, was it an accident? Maybe someone stumbled coming in late, knocked it? Possible, but the way the glass fell seems a bit odd for just dropping it.
Could it have been a struggle? Someone grabs it, it breaks.
That's a possibility. Or maybe it was deliberate, like break the light to lure someone outside to check on the noise. A ruse?
And there were reports it might have been broken before that night.
Yeah, that complicates things. If it was already broken or missing, then it's not a clue from that specific night at all. But if it was broken that night, the how and why are big questions.
And the purses lined up. We touched on this, but it's so bizarre. Why Suzanne's room? Why all three?
It really centralizes their last known moments, doesn't it? Suggests they were likely together. But would Sherrill normally leave her purse in Susie's room? Maybe not.
Some people online, you mentioned Reddit and web sleuths, have even wondered if Janelle and Mike maybe moved them without realizing or misremembered later.
That theory's out there, the idea of inadvertent scene contamination or memory reconstruction. But based on the official accounts, they were found like that by Jonas. If someone else put them there,
Right.
why? To make it look like they were just asleep.
It counters the idea of them being taken separately, at least.
It does strongly suggest they were dealt with as a group.
Then the deleted voicemail. We know it's gone, but the speculation is endless. Prank call. Important clue.
It could easily have been a coincidence, some random creep calling late at night, which wasn't uncommon back then. But the timing, right when people are starting to realize they're missing, it feels significant.
It's incredibly frustrating. A potential lead just erased.
Absolutely. It highlights the challenges of investigating back then before everything was digitally saved.
And the biggest question for many. How do three women disappear from inside a house with no apparent struggle?
That's the crux of it, isn't it? It suggests either they knew their abductor, felt safe enough to let them in, or go with them initially.
The acquaintance theory the FBI favors.
Exactly. Or perhaps a weapon was involved immediately, preventing any chance to fight back or make noise. A gun, maybe?
Could one person overpower three women silently, even with a weapon? Seems difficult.
It does, which might point towards more than one perpetrator or someone who had a specific plan and executed it ruthlessly.
And poor Cinnamon, the dog. Left behind, agitated but unharmed.
Another strange detail. Did the person know the dog? Was Cinnamon not seen as a threat? Or did they just want to avoid the noise of harming or trying to take the dog?
Maybe they didn't want barking to alert neighbors.
That's very plausible. If they were trying to be stealthy, dealing with a dog complicates things. Its agitation suggests it knew something was wrong, even if it wasn't hurt.
Okay, so with all these weird clues and missing pieces, a lot of theories and potential suspects have emerged. We need to be clear we're just discussing names that have come up in sources, not pointing fingers.
Absolutely. No charges were ever filed directly related to the disappearances. So besides the general acquaintance theory, there's Robert Craig Cox.
He lived in Springfield then.
Yes. Later convicted for kidnapping and robbery elsewhere. He even apparently told someone he knew the women were murdered and buried where they'd never be found. His girlfriend initially gave him an alibi, but later retracted it.
And he knew Stacy's dad.
Had worked with him previously, yes. That connection is noted in some reports.
Then there's Gerald Carnahan.
Known locally. Had issues with anger, alcohol, drugs. His wife even sought a restraining order not long before the disappearances. He also apparently gave a false alibi for something else around that time.
What about family? Bart Streeter, Sherrill's son, Suzanne's brother.
Police did look at him. Sources mention a strained relationship, past issues with alcohol. He was reportedly emotional seeing the house after, but investigators ultimately didn't find grounds to charge him.
And wider nets. People like Larry Hall.
The serial killer, yeah.
Yeah.
Active in the 80s and 90s. Known to abduct multiple victims. He did have ties to Missouri through Civil War reenactments. There was talk of a confession about the Springfield Three, but he apparently recanted it.
What about this grave robbers theory? Suzanne was going to testify against some guys.
Yeah, her ex-boyfriend and some friends had disturbed a grave site. She was listed as a witness. But the thinking is, would they escalate from something like grave robbing to a triple abduction and likely homicide? Seems like a huge leap for most investigators.
Doesn't seem proportionate.
No. Then you have theories like a stalker from the graduation parties who followed them home.
But again, the logistics of one person managing that without a struggle, it's tough to imagine.
Very tough. And finally, the idea of maybe a neighbor, someone familiar with routines, who maybe saw the door was unlocked or knew the house.
The lack of forced entry makes that slightly more plausible, perhaps.
It keeps that door open, so to speak. It all comes back to how entry was gained and how control was maintained so quietly.
You mentioned the timing being unusual, too. Sometime likely after 2 or 3 a.m.?
Yes, statistics generally show violent crime drops off in those very early morning hours. The fact that this seems to have happened after the women returned home suggests their arrival might have been the trigger. It wasn't just a random burglary interrupted.
It feels targeted somehow.
It does lend itself to that interpretation.
How did this whole thing affect Springfield? It must have been terrifying.
Oh, massively. Sources talk about a collective anxiety settling over the town, people locking doors who never did before, a real sense of lost security.
And for law enforcement.
A huge source of frustration. A former police chief called it his biggest regret. The investigation was hampered from the start of the time period, before widespread DNA tech.
The potential contamination at the scene?
And just a deluge of tips, thousands of them, many leading nowhere. Sifting through all that is incredibly difficult.
And through it all, Janice McCall, Stacy's mom, has just been relentless.
Absolutely tireless. Keeping the case alive, pushing for answers, her refusal to declare Stacy legally dead without knowing for sure. It speaks volumes about the unresolved pain.
It really does. So we're left where we started in a way. How did they get in? Why were these 3 women taken? Who did it? And the biggest question, where are they?
Those are the questions that echo. The lack of struggle, the purses, the light, the voicemail. They all just hang there.
For you listening, which detail stands out the most? The silence of the crime scene, the strange way the purses were left, that broken light. It's hard to pick just one.
It really is. Each element adds a layer of impossibility to it.
It's just a profound illustration of how a case can go cold, leaving families and a community in limbo for decades.
A truly stark reminder of that enduring pain and uncertainty.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about today, with Ring doorbells, cell phone tracking, ubiquitous CCTV. Could a crime like this, 3 people vanishing from a home with so few concrete clues, even happen now?
It seems much less likely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really makes you consider how different the world was in 1992 and wonder, is there some small detail, some connection from back then that's been sitting in plain sight all along?